This is some kind of trick. I'm gonna fucking kill you. I want you to know that.
Hello, everybody. This is not the usual video that you would see on this channel.
I mean, they haven't
Uh,
gotten a video in over a year, so.
It's something that they've been needing for a while, at the very least. So, Matt,
Yeah.
there was a tragic day that befalled us in this past week that the entire world felt. It's kind of a big deal. I don't know how much you know about it.
I know. James Earl Jones died. Yeah.
Exactly. And with his death, reminded me of something that we had done on the Goat Pen podcast uh, a few years ago. Sadly, we did not have the recording to put up on the channel when we started uploading to YouTube. So I thought that with the timing of this, it would be a good opportunity to potentially have a little bit of a do-over. It's not going to be as the exact same as it was, but I think that it'll still be entertaining. So, Matt, you know a little YouTuber named H Bomber Guy, correct?
I do know a little YouTuber named H Bomber Guy. Or as I like
What
to
do you,
call him, the good Film Brain clone.
what do you think
I
of?
guess that makes Film Brain the bad H Bomber Guy clone. I don't know.
They're both bald now, so
Yeah,
more.
they both look like what if Chernobyl happened in the UK instead of Ukraine.
Matt, I don't know if you've guessed yet what this is going to be, but a few years ago when we were still uploading on SoundCloud primarily, we did an episode that unfortunately we lost, but uh, it involved H Bomber Guy, not in a video, but on a podcast covering his defense of the Star Wars prequels. And the last time that we did this, I remember Matt was very upset with this.
I was also
And
high on cocaine, so.
also that, yes.
Which, not currently.
Sadly, we're going to have to, all the people out there are going to have to enjoy this in a more tapered down, straight edge fashion in comparison to what it was originally. But
I'm not gonna lie, Goat, I am kind of disappointed right now.
why?
Because I thought it was gonna have something to do with this.
Good old days after 9/11.
Well, I had a little bit of the preamble in there. I wanted to give it some time to build up. I was wanting to do this on 9/11 so the James Earl Jones thing would hit better. But
Oh, fuck! I just ass stumbled backwards into it, didn't I?
yeah.
God, I'm fucking dumb. I'm glad this isn't an official Goat Pen podcast episode, which you can subscribe to the Goat Pen podcast here on YouTube. I'm glad it's not an official episode of the podcast because I would have to tally this on my retard card, and I'm almost there. I'm almost to having 24 chromosomes. It's not good.
We'll have to get an update on that later. But for now, I have pulled up the original. Now, the whole thing, we're not going to listen to the full podcast. I've got to a specific timestamp that I think is good to get to. And we're going to have to skip around a little bit because they go back and forth on this bullshit Jar Jar Binks being a secret Sith Lord theory from Reddit. We're going to try to get to the meat
I
and
can't.
potatoes.
Before we even get into it, I just don't get why people can't just accept, like, look, the media you digested as a child isn't secretly brilliant. It was slop. Like, every fucking generation before you.
Matt, nothing is ever truly bad. because there is no moral compass on good versus bad. Therefore, all things are subjective.
I don't know. Human sacrifice?
Cultural differences.
Nah, I've started a horrible debate in D.GG recently because I was like, you know what? Cortez completely correct in genociding the Aztecs. Fuck
Should I
the
tell you-
Aztecs.
All right, so this is from smugfilm.com. I'll go ahead and give you a little factoid that I got from someone else talking about this website. Apparently, the host of it became a QAnon guy shortly after this. So that's a little fun tidbit.
Oh, that is fun.
Okay, so I think I'm around. We'll go back a little bit just in case. Get around the 6-minute mark a little closer. We'll get 5:55 here. Okay. So just tell me pause whenever. I'll keep up with everything on my end. All right. Are you ready?
I am, as much as I can be.
Okay, 5:55. 3.
Wait, is the reason you want this on my channels because you're scared that the fucking limp dick debutantes who listen to fucking H-Bomber Guy are gonna come at you with their buggy whip arms?
I thought about that like while I was listening to this, but at the same time, I don't think they would say anything besides like, "No, you guys are mean." So there's not really much that can come from it.
And I'll just go ahead and throw this one out there.
He's a fag.
There you go.
Come at me, cocksuckers.
By the way, for the people on Matt's channel who aren't up to date on the podcast lore, he has a soundboard, so
Yeah,
he's been playing with
best
that for a little while.
$5 I ever bought. Well, I didn't buy the $5. You get what I'm saying.
All right, 5:55. 3, 2, 1, go.
It's like that offensive, like Chinese, like voiceover right at the beginning of Phantom Menace.
Oh, I'll pause real quick at 6 minutes. Do you hear it? I forgot to.
I heard one thing.
Yeah,
Here we go.
they're talking about how the characters are offensive in the movie. So you're ready to hear a little bit about that.
Did somebody say China? I'm done, go.
No, you're fine.
For now.
Okay, 6 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go.
They have like those two chancellors or whatever
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're visiting, and that's a little rough.
Newt Gunray.
Is that his name?
Newt Gunray, yeah.
Newt
Why
Gunray.
why do I know that?
Why do you have that in your mind, John?
I had that right in the Rolodex, ready to go. Newt
Wait, I
Gunray.
He
can
was
explain
itching to get
this.
out.
Real
But,
pause.
6:17.
the
Go. ahead.
reason you had that in your mind so easily, and you probably don't even know what blood type you are. The reason you could recall that so much more easily is because your brain has been poisoned by George Lucas. You just remember dumb, useless Star Wars factoids. Like, you could tell me the entire history of Glub Shitto. But could
Okay.
you tell me where your family came from? Probably not.
I don't care about my family. I don't have midichlorians, Matt.
You ever hear the thing about like the last time your name is ever mentioned is truly the moment of your death?
Yeah.
Think about like all of his ancestors like struggling to make a better world for their descendants, like coming across the sea on a rickety boat, like half of the crew is dying of scurvy, just on the off chance that there might be a brighter future one day for your descendants. And they don't even know who the fuck you are, but they know who Newt Gunray is. This is why I'm not having kids, folks, besides, the most likely drug-induced sterility.
Okay, 6:17. 3, 2, 1, go.
Toy.
Really?
I think he was fat.
Did you play with it?
Not really.
Kind of just sat on the shelf.
Yeah.
You can't really
And
play
then
with.
there was the other
Newt
fat one,
Gunray.
Boss Nass. I
I
had him
remember
too.
Boss Nass.
Yeah. I might be
think I
getting
had
them
that
mixed
too.
up.
I feel like we're talking about new rappers because they always have those names where it's like I don't fully get it. Like I feel like new rappers, they tend to have like AOL.com kind of screen name names.
This
like,
is your best theory, actually.
That is
I
one
have
of
to
the-
give you credit for this.
You've heard it before. I've said it on YouTube, on Facebook, but a lot of people listening to the show haven't heard it. But yeah, that's my theory. It's all kids that grew up on AOL, and so now they're rappers and they're all cool and
This is
stuff.
mostly
And
to
the names
give
that
an
they come
idea
up
of
for
who he's
themselves, it's
talking to.
influenced by the fact that they used to come up with
how
names
old
for
is this
themselves on
guy?
AOL. So they have these weird ass AOL names, like ASAP Rocky. Just sounds like an AOL screen name to me. I digress. Point being that Jar Jar, his voice and the voice of those like Chinese Newt Gunray
Pause.
fellas.
782.
I was trying to think of what this guy sounds like. Is this the QAnoner, by the way? Please tell me this guy the talking is the QAnoner.
I think so. Hang on, I'm gonna look it up just to make sure.
Because I was like, fuck, his voice sounds like something to me. What does his voice sound like? Puppet. He sounds like a puppet of some kind. Does he sound like a Star Wars character? No, not Star Wars. It is definitely Jim Henson. Kermit. He sounds like fucking Kermit. Yes, I am. Aesop Rocky sounds like a name I would hear on an AOL. I am Kermit the Frog.
See, I thought you were gonna say your movie sucks.
I haven't watched that motherfucker, and I mean, to be fair, no, I was confusing him with I Hate Everything for a second there, and then I remembered, no, Your Movie Sucks is the degenerate animal fucker. I haven't watched Your Movie Sucks in so long, I forgot what his voice sounds like.
Hang on.
Go to his currently cross-referencing his database to see if my inquiry was correct or not. I don't think he is the QAnon guy. Oh, we're
What do you
listening
mean?
to fucking Your Movie Sucks, never mind. God,
I
I'm more
remember
mad
that.
about this.
What?
Having to watch fucking a Your Movie Sucks video. God.
It's kind of
He
similar
just-
voices.
Yeah, kinda. He's more... He sounds more like a Puppet Pal. Like a Puppet Pal. I don't think he's the QAnoner, because usually when you become a QAnoner, that shit kinda, takes over your life. It's like cancer in that way.
Hopefully they get past the. If not, I might have to skim a couple minutes. But 719, we'll listen for a little bit. 3, 2, 1, go.
That was his AOL screen name, actually.
Yeah,
Basically,
it was all
it's-
pretty
it's an
offensive.
It's an attempt to edit the Star Wars prequels to be what the fans want it to be.
Right.
We're in this bizarre position with Star Wars where it's simultaneously a series of above-average films and this giant cultural phenomenon that people have a huge boner for that has nothing to do with the actual movies itself. Have you ever been to Wikipedia?
Yeah, that's John's favorite.
That's where I learned
domain.
about jizz.
Yeah,
I'm the Star Wars correspondent.
John learned a hell.
Pause. 7.
Just for those who don't know, it's space jazz. Why I know that. Thank you, Red Letter Media.
Oh, they're gonna come up in a little bit.
I know they come up
Let me.
because
try
that was
to-
the thing that was like, oh yeah, because it's cool to hate on Red Letter Media because it's the same fucking bullshit Team 4-Star fucking gets. for like people act like, oh, Red Letter Media created all of these fucking criticisms for the prequels. They did not. Now, maybe some of them were not new and novel fucking critiques, but for the most part, those Mr. Plinkett videos were just like condensed versions of the criticisms that everybody had had for the fucking prequels for 10 years at that point. It's just like how they didn't fucking invent. It's just like how Team 4-Star didn't invent the Goku is a bad father fucking meme. That shit was happening way before fucking DBZ abridged.
Okay, I think I skipped to the right timestamp. I'm at 12:49.
And to be fair, I am somebody who has constantly said, like, the Star Wars fans took shit way too far with their hatred of the fucking prequels. Like, this is why George Lucas sold it off to Disney and wants nothing to fucking do with Star Wars.
Okay, 1249, 3, 2, 1, go.
As a whole, you're given the impression that the Jedi are the good guys, when they're not the good guys in the prequels.
Right.
This leads into Jar Jar, because Jar Jar does cause problems for the universe, and he's also kind of weird.
He's bumbling.
And and fans hate that. That's not permissible. Why isn't he a badass? Why isn't he Han Solo too?
Okay,
so
I'm sorry.
there's this need to either erase...
1311, go ahead.
I know there's like... Nobody expected Jar Jar to be fucking Han Solo too. Like, there's room for a bumbling fucking... Like, C-3PO. He's in the original trilogy. The problem with Jar Jar is he was loud and obnoxious and in everybody's face for a good third of that fucking movie. And then one part of the final fight scene focuses solely on him and the Gungan army. At least with C-3PO, right? He was kind of a bumbling fucking dude, but you got why he was there, right? You understood, like, oh, C-3PO, he's kind of this fey, stammering, bumbling fucking robot dude, but he's pretty smart, he's good with fucking, like, the diplomacy fucking shit. Like, he's got a reason to be there. Why is fucking Jar Jar just following fucking Qui-Gon around? Some bullshit fucking life debt?
Okay, 1311, 3, 2, 1, go.
their own cuts that take him out, or to somehow, redeem his character by saying, oh, he was secretly evil the whole time. And I think that's what this article is playing into.
Well, the thing, the thing about the article too is it's kind of the cheapest way possible to do your own, recut, re-edit of the Star Wars prequels is to just, plant a new interesting idea in the people's minds that maybe, they don't care about Jar Jar anyway, so whatever.
Yeah,
but
so
it enables them to then rewatch the prequels with that in mind. And
Go ahead and pause. I think this was right as it was happening. I'd have to look at the... Let me look at the date again. This is 2015.
Oh, that is way before the fucking... Fuck, this is pre-Trump.
He mentions at one point, well, MAGA does come up at some point in this.
Well, I mean, he was running, but we, Fuck, this was posted like 2 days after the election.
That's 2015, Matt.
Oh yeah, 2015, not 2016.
Yeah, he mentions watching the trailers, or they talk about not watching the trailers for the new ones and wanting to be surprised by them. Okay, 1344. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
maybe they'll get a little bit more enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, but I think if you want to rewatch the prequels, though, keep this in mind. Who else hates Jar Jar? Answer: the Jedi. Fans are identifying with the Jedi when they say that they think Jar Jar's annoying.
That's
a part in it
a
where
great
Qui-Gon
point.
knocks him out.
Yeah, this isn't a character that everybody loves in the films.
Yeah, the characters themselves don't like him because he's clumsy and sounds funny, and he doesn't talk common very well. And I think the Jedi are set up as the bad guys in the prequels. Like the first
14, 12.
One, the only characters we really see Jar Jar interacting with are the Jedis and the other Gungans. Both groups hate him. So, just saying. It's like we didn't get really that many fucking scenes of fucking Jar Jar and old Annie fucking bonding.
Okay, 1412. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
shot is them in the hooded, evil-looking cloaks. And then when they're sort of introduced with their lightsabers out, they're emerging from the fog like a shot out of Alien, and they decimate these robots. And the, how else are they introduced? The Neimoidians, the new Gunray types, they're all like, we're scared of these guys. We can't go in the room with these people.
Right.
We have to send a guy with tea while we figure out what we're going to do about this, because this is spooky.
That's how they introduced Darth Vader. I never thought of that.
Yeah, and here's the coolest link is in the room when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are talking between themselves. He says, these Federation types are, wimps. They're afraid of us. They're cowards. They'll fold easily. when, it's shot exactly like the scene on the Death Star, where they talk about how fear will keep the local systems in line. So the whole point is, like, right off the bat, you have the Jedi are essentially enforcers for the supposed democracy of the Republic, but they're actually just keeping, the peace in a very kind of straightforward way. And that's a criticism of the Jedi, and it's no surprise that they, really don't like Jar Jar, because he doesn't, he isn't like a prim and proper weird monk type. And they also really don't do anything about, the whole peace and justice thing. They go to a planet with fucking slavery on it, and they're like, oh, we better save this one kid.
Right.
Like, because he's our chosen one. And they're not actually doing anything that the guys in the original film said the Jedi used to do. And fans saw that as some kind of plot hole, like George Lucas slipped and made the Jedi evil.
No, it just made it more interesting.
Yeah, he made it more interesting by saying the Jedi were never that great either. There has never been legitimate peace and justice in the universe, and we need to fight for it.
See, I like that. I like it when you describe it,
I think the prequels are really neat. I honestly think that this interesting storytelling.
Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with, there's an article, I guess about a year ago, that was comparing Star Wars 4, 5, 6 and then the prequels to sort of like the Ring cycle of opera. Are you familiar with that? Where it's like a rhyme scheme that's it's a very unorthodox rhyme scheme.
I remember reading it.
It's like form.
Yeah,
like they go in like a
I'm gonna pause right here. Oh, you're going to that also comes up at one point, Matt. Don't worry.
Look, if they're bringing up the dumb ring fucking cycle bullshit, they're gonna bring up the form poetry fucking bullshit.
Okay, 1630. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go in like a
they sort of they mirror each other, but they mirror each other in like a circular way.
That's where the character leitmotifs for Star Wars came from.
Yeah,
another really cool point I like to make about the prequels is behind the scenes footage of the movie, Lucas makes a lot of jokes at his own expense. Like, he turns to people and says, tell me when to say action or cut in case I forget. And he makes jokes about how bad his direction is and stuff. And there's a lot of, he's kind of endearing. And a lot of fans like those videos, the Plinkett reviews.
Cool,
yeah, the Red Letter Media shit.
Yeah. They purposefully edit behind the scenes footage down to make Lucas look like he's saying that stuff accidentally, like he's actually a total idiot.
Yeah, I really hated that they did that, because it just felt very unnecessary. It's like, if you don't like the movies, great, fine. Most people don't, whatever. But to do that sort of like Bowling for Columbine, like Michael Moore kind of like thing, where it's like it's just like overdone like propaganda. It's like you don't need that. Like, your case is already pretty strong that like the prequels aren't that great. You don't need to come up with this grand theory that he's this like a bumbling idiot.
The Plinkett reviews are funny, but I wouldn't say there's much that's accurate about them.
Right. Especially, you know what? The thing about when he talks to like his fucking friends, which like now we know he's just talking about to his friends, but when that video initially came out, it was just like he was talking to just complete strangers or something. It just gave off that impression where he's asking them to describe certain characters in the prequels as opposed to describing certain characters in the original trilogy.
1812, go ahead.
What kind of like baby brain do you have to be like, oh, these were complete strangers that he had in his YouTube video? Of course he was gonna fucking use his friends. Like, you think he's gonna go out on the fucking street? I'll be honest, I fucking got into Red Letter Media fairly late, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how big his fucking channel was before fucking the Plinkett stuff. I'm assuming not very big. I'm also assuming because of being amateur filmmakers and stuff, probably didn't have that much fucking money to go out and just be like, hey, let's just film some fucking people on the fucking street and just harangue them about fucking Star Wars characters.
I think they're also all in like their living rooms, respectful living rooms during the
but also
questions.
It's just like, oh, God forbid they do some comedic fucking cuts in their comedic fucking review. I think I don't remember if I brought this up in the original video or not, but like this is kind of one of the, and we're kind of seeing why people are like, you know, kind of having a nostalgia remembrance for like the comedic reviews. But like this is kind of like the hard divergence between like the people who did like the comedic reviews, like Red Letter Media early on, Nostalgia Critic, Angry Video Game Nerd, those types of people. And then like the video essayist type, like the H-Bomber guys, the Lindsay Ellis's, that kind of stuff. Where it's like, and I'm not saying either side is better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I'm kind of getting at is like there's like a different fucking purpose. Like it's like professional wrestling versus actual academic wrestling. Like one is more skewed towards entertainment and one is more skewed towards like the actual like I'm trying to think of a good analog word here. But like, you know, with that, like academic wrestling, it's more about like the actual sportsmanship, the art, the skill. And I think especially in 2015, there was kind of like a need for like the video essayist types to look down on the like the more comedic reviewer types. Except for James, like nobody ever went after James because they knew like, yeah, we'll take out the fucking pitchforks if you go after fucking Angry Video Game Nerd.
Unless it's female Ghostbusters.
To be fair, that hadn't happened yet.
True.
Or maybe it had. I don't remember when the first trailer came out.
I think first trailer of it was like...
But then again, I don't think James said anything bad about that movie until he actually went to see it and was just like, yeah, not for me.
I think he said that he was glad that Harold Ramis was dead if the alternative was that he'd have to live to see it.
That's funny because that's how I feel about Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Let's see, Ghostbusters.
I would have actually rather have gotten a sequel to Ghostbusters 2016 than Ghostbusters Afterlife.
2016. Okay, so like a year later or a few months later. Does Afterlife suck? I've heard
For me it did. I did not like Afterlife.
I heard some people saying that the director of it kind of used it as a way to tell a story about like his dead father or something like that.
Well, did not work for me. Especially when I saw Ghost Harold Ramis show up. At least Ghostbusters 2016 knew better than to do that.
How about this? How about instead of Egon, it's He-Gon, and it's accurate.
Egon sounds like a fucking weird He-Man character.
Damn, I'm trying to think of a way to make him gay. Fuck.
He gay.
He gay, there you go. So Egon, it's he gay. And he also fucks the pink slime in this version, but he makes it shape itself into the size of a cock.
He puts... Nah, I had something that just flew out my brain.
Have you ever heard the story about the guy who played the villain in Ghostbusters 2?
Which villain? The painting guy or the little fey guy in the museum?
The painting guy.
I do not know.
He was a like son of a boxer turned son of a wrestler. Like they both went into wrestling and stuff like that. And then he got washed up and eventually did the movie at the tail end of his acting career. And didn't find out the night of the premiere that they didn't use his voice and they dubbed it over. So he just stormed out as soon as he started talking.
Do you have a dumb voice?
Yeah. He was from Germany.
And action. And speak just very steady. And go.
I, Eagle, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you. On the mountain of skulls and the castle of pain, I sit on the throne of blood.
Okay, now move your head a little bit.
Yeah, could you do one more take and not sound like a fucking retard on Quaaludes? And go.
Alright. Get back to this. 1812. 3.
I am Vigo the Carpathian.
I am Vigo.
Here's the thing, I was like, when you said he was German, I was like, that could work. And then I remembered, like, oh no, wait, there's 2 types of Germans. There's, like, the really, like, monotone ones, and then there's the, you know, the angry, yelly ones.
Oh, he is also an angry, yelly one. He did a role in a Werner Herzog movie where he's screaming like 90% of it. It's pretty good.
To be fair, Werner Herzog probably pissed him off.
No,
Go
no,
look
no.
at the shit he made Klaus Kinski do to get him to actually look angry on film.
I remember him saying something that like he was nice to him on set. It was just, I think it might have been like a language thing. I think he does better when he's speaking his original tongue instead of trying to think in English, if that makes sense.
German is, you know, it's not a nice language.
I mean, yeah. 1812, 3, 2, 1, go.
Point that the characters in the prequels aren't, you know, well defined and well created, whereas
the point is really that they're not easily summed up.
Right.
I thought that part was brilliant because it's not even a matter of not easily being summed up. I mean, if you pull any book or any movie or anything off the shelf, if you can't describe things about the people in it, then you'd better be making a real good experimental film because you're not making a good narrative one.
That's another point that those reviews make that I hate is they say, you know, they go into detail about how a story should work. Like there's a protagonist and they have to do this and overcome and hero's journey, etc., etc. And then they say stories don't have to do this, but unless you're Tarantino, Jarmusch, Cassavetes, you know, they go a huge list. Unless you're one of these people, you probably shouldn't experiment.
Yeah, I hated that point in that because that was really dickish. That's like that's that kind of film criticism that I just really, really loathe.
Yeah. The other big thing I think that is kind of shitty is people make fun of the George Lucas when he said it's like poetry, it rhymes. When what's wrong with a film trying to be like poetry? What's wrong with, you know, trying to have something, you know, thematically rhyme with
other films? That's a great point. I think it was either the last episode or the previous episode, we were talking about that kind of lyricism quality in film that, you know, you can't really do anymore. I think we were talking about The Devils, right?
The thing is, though, there's like a big difference between, I mean, I get what he's saying and I appreciate the content, but those movies are in no way lyrical. I mean, he's not doing anything.
Well, they play off of each other in interesting ways. Like there's that, someone pointed this out to me recently, actually, the shot where Mace Windu is preparing to murder the democratically elected head of the Republic because the Jedi are the good guys. He's shot in the same angle as Darth Vader is when he's, you know, putting his hand out to
pause real quickly.
Saying, Father.
Yeah, that's cool.
20.
Man, what a pre-2016 viewpoint to have on, like, hey, if somebody is democratically elected and you kill them, you're the bad guy. Real luxury living in the pre-Trump world there. But also, I hate this defense of like oh, but they want like George Lucas, like it's deep that he made these movies. They don't rhyme. They do not. Like, they have the most tangential connective tissues. Like, how does fucking Phantom Menace rhyme with fucking A New Hope? Like, our point of view characters aren't fucking Luke. Like, it's not Anakin until like fucking a third of the way into the movie. Luke's introduced like 20 fucking minutes in. And it's like, okay, it's clear Luke's our main point of view character here. He's like the guy we're going to be following for the most part. Like, the first fucking 20 minutes is like, okay, I guess we're following the fucking Jedi, and they're going to be going around doing like some trade negotiation, and okay, now they're on a swamp world, and oh, there's like a weird geisha queen. Like, how does Empire rhyme with fucking Attack of the Clones? The only one that I can kind of see is maybe fucking Revenge of the Sith. But that's because it's like, oh, the bad guys win in this one, whereas the good guys win in fucking Revenge of the Jedi. And then, you know, I'm not even going to bring up the fucking sequel trilogy because that's not fucking fair, because George Lucas was like, I don't want anything to fucking do with Star Wars ever again because the Star Wars fans are annoying and fucking weird about this shit. They can't just be like, hey, Star Wars, that was a set of movies I enjoyed. Anyways, I'm gonna move on with my life and not fucking make that a huge fucking part of my identity and spend untold amounts of fucking money on dumb fucking shitty merchandise that will slowly degrade and poison the fucking planet with microplastics for decades and centuries to come. I'll be honest, good, I'm less mad at H. Bomber Guy. This is just reminding me more about how much I hate Star Wars fans.
I mean, it can be a little bit of column A and column B.
It is a really... Fuck. If you gave me the choice to Thanos snap the Star Wars fans or the Harry Potter fans, I don't know who I would.
You gotta remember, we're at like the tippity top of the iceberg right now. We haven't gotten
Because,
to
like,
real meat.
I've dealt with the Star Wars fans for longer. But man, those Potter... And to be fair, though, most people... A lot of people aren't open Potter fans anymore because of, you know...
Except for women.
Yeah. Real women. Not one of them transgendered illegal aliens that Trump's letting in to eat our fucking dogs and our cats. Am I right, people?
Stalling a little bit. 2006. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, I appreciate the poetry, and I've definitely seen other examples too, where it's like it's not like the ones that you would assume that like the prequels would reference. Like it's never like the really blatant stuff. It's always, you know, like in the Mace Windu example, it's like kind of like, you know, out of the ordinary kind of rhyming.
But they're not lyrical. I mean, those aren't.
Yeah, they're not especially well. The characters themselves speak in a very sort of Victorian-ish tone because the story's kind of emulating that period of history.
But I even mean visually.
Right.
I mean, when you're talking about lyrical films in the sense of The Devils, you're talking about, you know...
Right, visually lush.
Stylistic and editorial decisions that are...
I feel like Star Wars has the lyrics when it comes to...
2052, go ahead.
So, it's supposed to be based off of the Victorian era. Where does the Space Diner fit into that one? But also, shit, I think I forgot the second point. Go back a few seconds, just to re-jog my memory.
Let me see if I can do it with arrows, if not 2052. No, let me... Let's go 2031.
Yeah, that's enough.
3, 2, 1, go.
In a very sort of Victorian-ish tone because the story's kind of emulating that period of history.
But I even mean visually.
Right.
I mean, when you're talking about lyrical films in the sense of The Devils, you're talking about, you know...
I remember what I was
visually
saying.
lush.
2044,
So, the reason there's no lyrical rhyming, especially with Phantom Menace and A New Hope, is George Lucas fired the fucking editor of A New Hope. His ex-wife. Because people forget that with the first Star Wars. That is not fully George Lucas. That is probably the major failing of the prequel trilogy. It is entirely George Lucas's vision. The first 3 movies were not that. They were a cooperative effort between multiple fucking people. Different editors, different script writers, the actors. Not trying to diminish the role Lucas had in the original trilogy, but he wasn't the fucking be-all, end-all of the original trilogy. There were other people inputting their fucking ideas into that, and those movies are better for it. Because somebody could be like, hey, George, I don't feel like my character would be kind of doing this. You feel me, buddy? Or maybe, you know, in the editing booth, they're like, okay, this stuff's not really flowing that well. Let's maybe cut this, like, shorten this scene, punch it up with a little bit of music or sound effects or something. Bada bing, bada boom, we got a fucking good scene now.
Okay, let's see if we can get a little further here. 2044. 3, 2, 1, go.
Right, visually lush.
Stylistic and editorial decisions that are...
I feel like Star Wars has the lyrics when it comes to like just that things kind of come into place. You know, it's like that sort of sense of fate can be, I think, lyrical.
Yeah.
But
You know what? Pause real quickly.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You know what the perfect comparison to
2101.
Star Wars is with like the prequels versus the original trilogy? Fucking Ren and Stimpy. And subsequently everything else John K. ever fucking made. Ren and Stimpy was good because it wasn't all John K. and his weird sickness being on display. The reason everything else John K. ever made was bad is because it was just fucking John K. in charge. Like sometimes, like a little bit of restraint can go a long fucking way in like helping a creative endeavor, right? Like, so this wasn't a thing in 2015, but a great example of this currently is AEW. Like, letting someone like Chris Jericho just do whatever dumb fucking nonsensical idea fucking rattles into his CTE-ridden fucking brain nub, really bad. And I'll agree, I'll say this, it's one of the good things Vince McMahon ever did was telling Chris Jericho to hit the fucking bricks when he started complaining about not being able to do whatever he fucking just damn well pleased in WWE. Like, sometimes you, like as someone who has tried to fucking make a D&D campaign on and off for the last fucking 10 years, it is hard. Like, one of the hardest things to do is, like, you get so fucking invested in, like, an idea. And you're like, this is really fucking cool. But, like, it doesn't gel with anything else. And it's really hard to kill your fucking babies because you're like, this is a cool... Like, sometimes, like, an idea might be cool, but it's just not fucking right. I'm sorry, God, I went off on a little fugue there.
2101. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
I was going to, what I remember, what I was going to say.
Oh, you got it?
Oh, right. Cool.
What it reminds me of, too, is another podcast where we were talking about just like canon and fundamentalist attitudes.
Yes.
That's the other thing is that like what you're describing, Harry, about these fans and being disappointed with movies or lyricism, it just reminds me of how just there's this weird like seriousness that it's like the same like attitude you'd approach math with. You know, there's no like... There's no like room for expansion, not like theoretical math. I'm talking like, 1 + 1 = 2. How dare you imply anything else? And it's just weird.
Yeah. The word I came up for that was, or at least I heard someone say in Stoll, was tactical realism.
Right.
People want a universe to be like a math equation that you can solve.
Right.
And that comes up a lot in basically every criticism of the prequels is, why don't they do this when the story is not a literal chain of events? It's characters doing metaphorical things to metaphorical aliens. Like, there's all kinds of like the prequels have a really cool aesthetic that nothing else has quite done, where they're emulating the uncanny valley on purpose.
This is the part that was
everything is designed to look like CGI, even when it's not. People have complained about, the fields. The big fight happens at the end of Phantom Menace, and how like fake the fields look. They're actual real fields in California that have been photographed to look fake. It's like how the hill that it comes preset with Windows XP, like the desktop background.
Yeah,
that's a real photograph. It's not edited, but it looks fake somehow, and that's an aesthetic that only the prequels have ever bothered to even try.
I don't agree with that. I think a ton of color grading in the past 10 years has been going for that.
How long was this after the first Avatar movie came out?
This was 2015.
Because as much as I don't like the Avatar movie, that's what he's actually describing here.
So it's 6 years. 6 years.
Like, George Lucas made those movies because he was like, yeah, this looks good. That's why the fucking special edition of the original trilogy exists.
Are you saying there's something wrong with McClunky, Matt?
Oh, yeah, I had to remember. It's like, oh yeah, fucking Mr. Sunday movies. Yeah, McClunky. the thing that the Emperor Palpatine is his famous quote.
Who
I
said
think that would have
movie?
saved the third movie for me if he did just say McClunky as he did the giant lightning storm.
What's the worst special edition add-on that they did?
Probably the song in Jabba's palace.
I just remember a really badly animated monster screaming at the screen during
That's the song in Jabba's palace, yes.
God, hang on, let me look at that.
Fun fact, that he is singing jizz.
Special edition.
Because everything else, and again, I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan, so I don't really give a shit about, like, a lot of, like, oh, fucking why is Jabba the Hutt here in the hangar talking to Han Solo in the first movie? That's bullshit. I don't care about, like, shit like that. Like, the things I care more about is, like, does this ruin the fucking flow of the... Like, this shit just wastes fucking time, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least with, like, the shit, like, oh, they introduced Jabba in the first movie instead of, like, the other one, or they add, like, all of the fucking crazy shit on Tatooine when they're coming in. It's like, all of that, like, yeah, on a conceptual level, you can argue that shit's soulless and sucks and whatever. But at least to me, as just somebody who does not give a shit about this and just wants to watch a fun fucking movie and turn off my brain for a little bit, I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Because it happens, it's gone. I don't have to fucking, like, look at this shit. Look at how, like, it forces you. It just grabs you by the fucking nutsack. And it's like, here I am. Look at how disgusting we are. Look at this gross little fucking dirtball gremlin screaming in your face with his fucking lizard whore vacuum bitch.
Oh, God.
You know, I'm gonna say this, and this might piss off some of the old head Star Wars fans. Looking at all the different edits, I kind of prefer the special edition 2011 one. I kind of like them focusing on the Twi'lek and her horror at the Rancor, which we do not see yet. It's like, okay, that kind of upsells, like, how scary the Rancor is. The singing shit, fuck that off.
I was gonna say, now, is it worth this?
No, it's not worth the singing. No. Why are you replaying it? We already established it's bad.
Wanted to get back to it. I have muted for... Alright, that's enough. Should just have the... Hang on. Should just have that on loop the entire time. Is this one? Yeah, I should just have this on in the background while H-Bomber guys defend.
Also, too, here's the other thing, too. An H-Bomber guy will never admit this. And none of these people will ever admit this. The other reason the prequel trilogy is better than the sequel trilogy, the racism.
Oh, they bring that up in the Smith.
Look, who's the one character everybody loves from the sequel trilogy? It's the weird Asian alien.
Thought you were gonna say Watto.
No, he's everybody's favorite from the fucking prequels. I will sell you the woman, but not the boy. We are going to make Jedi blood bread with him later.
Oh, I got him mixed up. I thought you were talking about the prequels.
Did I ever tell you about how I really pissed off some lady in DIGG because I started doing my Watto impersonation, and I was like, Space Israel has the right to defend itself from Space Palestine. And she did not appreciate that.
Was she Jewish?
No.
Damn.
And it led to me being put on trial And I didn't even know it. I came in halfway through my own trial, and people were defending me, and they were like, Napalm wasn't doing the Watto voice because it's anti-Semitic. He's doing it because he was trying to make a point. I was like, no, I was doing it because I thought it was funny. I thought that like it is funny to do the evil Jew fairy voice from the prequels. And guess what, Goat?
Mm-hmm.
I was declared an innocent man by a jury of my peers. Let that be a lesson to everybody out there. The truth shall set you free.
The truth shall make you pee. Then they all
And
piss
it shall.
themselves.
Just dance out, and like just everybody was like peeing an arc above me as I just proudly get out of the courtroom.
All right. 22:49. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sapped all the reality out of everything.
That's probably a fairly good point, actually, yeah. I think they do it to make a really interesting point about how you kind of need unrealism for things to make sense. Like, for example, Yoda is just a puppet. He's a block of, carved out, what is it, silicon?
Yeah, it'd be like
foam?
latex, foam latex.
Yeah, and he's designed to be this over-the-top facsimile of a character, and that over-the-topness is what gives it a sense of, being a person or whatever.
Well, the
because
other
it feels
thing,
more
pause.
real than real.
Yeah.
Pause. Because this is another important thing with how the fucking prequels were shot. And to be fair, this is the fault with a lot of fucking movies that are filmed primarily on green screen sets, is one of the reasons something like Yoda feels way more real isn't just because of the exaggerations that they used for the physical prop, but it's also because there was a physical prop there for the actor to act off of, to treat as a living thing. Like we see, like not just in the prequels. Like you can look at look at half of the fucking Marvel fucking shit released, where you can tell somebody is just dangling a fucking tennis ball in front of this motherfucker, and they're like, "Hey, this is supposed to be like a 12-foot tall, like a giant Jotun from the ice planet who's mad that you killed Loki or fucking some shit. Act off of the fucking dumb tennis ball."
Did you ever see this one, Matt?
Is it the werewolf?
No.
Oh yeah, Ian McClellan just losing his fucking mind.
The task I have in mind will require a great deal.
Like it's just and again, I'm not just shitting on any of these fucking actors. Like you can see this with Ian McKellen, one of the fucking greatest living actors. Like it's hard to fucking actually act when there's like nothing to fucking go off of, and you're surrounded by probably one of the most obnoxious fucking colors ever created by humankind. It's like that's why these things feel less real in the fucking prequels. Like a good example from the fucking Plinkett movies is when Anakin talks to Mace Windu and tells him about fucking his suspicion of Palpatine being a Sith. Like, you feel like, hey, there should be some urgency to this fucking shit right now, but like they just saunter off because they probably had 20 to 30 feet of set to work with.
I remember there was something where I think it's mentioned in this podcast, but it was something about how in all of the scenes in the prequels, no one's like sitting at a desk or holding props or anything like that, because there's nothing for them to like hold on to. It's just them standing in the middle of a green room.
Yeah, there might be like one actual prop in there, so they focus on that, like Natalie Portman when she's unpacking in Attack of the Clones.
Okay, 23-21. 3.
Like a good
2.
example, sorry, but a good example of this in the Star Wars movie is when fucking Obi-Wan meets up with fucking Grievous in the third one. And like Grievous does his whole fucking, ooh, I'm gonna unclip my arms and pull out all my fucking swords and I'm gonna spin them around and shit. And you see fucking old fucking Ewan McGregor over there, and he's just like, he looks like a dog that heard a fairly interesting fart that might have sounded like a squirrel or something.
I
Like he's got
remember,
nothing to act off of because he's probably looking at a fucking werewolf mask.
Do you know Mega 64, Matt?
Yes.
Like video game in real life pranks and all that stuff. I remember seeing a clip from their podcast where one of the guys, Rocco, was talking about the prequels, and that scene specifically was the point where it completely like was lost for him. And his reasoning was it's Obi-Wan being stuck in this situation where he's like looking down from a vent, and like he's supposed to be very cunning and practical and being able to figure out ways to get through or like figure out a good solution for his predicament at the time. And he's over the top of all of his enemies, and he was thinking, oh man, how's he gonna get out of this? And then he immediately just drops down and he's like, hey, I'm here now, and now we fight. And he said the exact thought that went through his head was, yeah, because we don't actually, it's not so much about like what's an interesting plot. We're just kind of trying to get these action figures to the other end of the hallway right now.
Yeah. Like, you know what, one of the scenes that to me, at least with the prequel movies, stands out? I don't know if it's my favorite scene, but it's like a scene I think about and I am fond of. It's when Obi-Wan fights Jango Fett. And it's not because it's an action scene or anything like that. It's because there's an actual fucking set where they were doing fake fucking rain, downpouring on an actual set. So it's like, oh, this feels fucking real. This feels like there are fucking stakes here. Obi-Wan could fucking die. Jango Fett could die. I mean, you know, I don't really care that much if Jango Fett dies or not, but they're like, shit, like there's stakes for fucking him.
See, I thought you were gonna say Darth Maul.
Nah, like the Darth Maul shit is just like, you know what it feels like? You know what half of especially the Phantom Menace, it got slightly better as the movies went on, but especially with Phantom, a lot of it feels like, hey, you might be too young for this, goat. Nick Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the fake video games that you would go into in Nick Arcade as like the final round of that show.
Right.
It's just like go look up a clip of it, because like seriously, that's how a lot of the acting feels like. Is if you've ever seen Nick Arcade, it feels exactly like just some dumb kids swatting at bullshit. Shit, this has commercials too.
There we go.
Yeah, like look at this shit. This is what most of the Phantom Menace feels like to me when they're in those fully CGI sets. Just a dumb fucking kid flailing around catching bananas that don't exist and dodging. Oof. Man, the 90s were a different time, goat. I'm just going to say that. Kind of forgot about the scimitar swinging Arab stage.
Well, I mean, if we're going to get into that, I mean, we could just pull up an episode of Legend of the Hidden Temple.
That was even more inexcusable because that came later. like especially with how that final boss fight ended. Like you just you have nothing to go off of.
Okay, 23-21. 3.
Also, I'm sorry everybody heard me take a swig of my drink, my elixir.
Look, they have to hear Lundy eat all the time because he refuses to not do it on my.
Well, you are putting this on my channel, so technically They don't. Unless you're cool and you're subscribed to the GoPin podcast. Also, just don't edit this one, Goat. Because it's my channel. Fuck them. Leave in every ounce of dead air. It's what they deserve. Fucking animals.
Just wanting to scare them all off.
It would be fun.
Yeah, they come back every time, though, Matt. Okay, 23, 21, 3, 2, 1, go.
I think Werner Herzog talked about that, where you need to lie to create truth.
Yeah, it's like when you have silence in a movie, you have to have a sound. Otherwise, nobody will recognize it as silence. You have to have like a pin or something go.
The big example of silence in movies, of course, is in... I always forget it. The boxing movie Scorsese made. I get the name wrong every time.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. I get confused with Easy Rider for some reason. But yeah, it does silence really, really well. It's just a bunch of footage, though. But
little shout out to Greg, though.
It is a bunch of footage.
Technically, all films are technically a bunch of footage. So Greg is not wrong.
But with Raging Bull, in that silence, you have the click of those cameras. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, but it goes silent. But silent, even the silence is like a sort of like
like underwater.
And what they do in the prequels is they remove the filmic qualities of the film and show fans what they really want, and it disturbs them. Like, Yoda is transformed into this really realistic CGI creature as if it was real, and all of a sudden it's uncanny because the real Yoda, has, you can see blood in his veins and stuff, and there's something wrong with it. But but the puppet for some reason feels more real, and you get an interesting trade-off between those two.
Well, again, if you remember before our interlude,
pause 24:35.
I went into why again the Yoda again. And I know it's unfair. This is like us going back in a time machine and bullying H Bomber guy. Like, hey, motherfucker! First off, you better appreciate your hair, because you ain't gonna have that much for longer. Secondly, there's gonna be this show, right, called The Mandalorian, and it's about this Mandalorian guy, and he's got this little baby Yoda, and we called him Baby Yoda for a while, but his actual name is Grogu, but nobody fucking gives a shit. So anyways, Werner Herzog is a character on this show, and the Baby Yoda is a puppet, and it's such an amazing and beautiful thing to Werner Goat, look up the clip of Werner Herzog talking about the Baby Yoda puppet. Like,
I will, but I didn't.
Like, there was a point where they were going to replace the puppet with CGI, and Werner Herzog flat out stated, if you do that, I will quit the production. As a man who listened to another man get mauled to death by bears, as a man who abused his best friend, who was also a heinous pedophile, to no end, made him drag a boat across a fucking hill, and then was like, yeah, I didn't get any of that, so we're gonna have to do that again. Do you think he would have the same reaction if the Baby Yoda was a fucking just some CGI monstrosity? Have you seen the fucking Stitch from the Lilo and Stitch live action movie, Goat?
I have seen it, yes.
It's disgusting.
It's
and I've been fighting people on this like all the time. Like, that movie could have had a chance if they just made a fucking Stitch puppet. If there was a cute little puppet like with the Baby Yoda, people could have given a fucking shit. Like, again, you think Werner Herzog is gonna fucking sit there and be like, I was moved to tears just looking at the little puppet. I would have conversations with it. It's fundamentally heartbreaking. Do you think he would have that fucking reaction if there's just a little fucking tennis ball there with fucking Yoda ears on it and be like, this is the Baby Yoda, Werner. Act like you give a shit. Like, people fucking were grossed out by the CGI Yoda in the fucking prequel movies because fucking the actors didn't treat it like it was a real fucking creature. So why would we, the audience, fucking, like, go... How does Who Framed Roger Rabbit does a better job at this? Like, I actually believe Eddie Valent is talking to a fucking cartoon rabbit. Because fucking Bob Haskins is... Like, he's not just in a green fucking hellscape. They had fucking, like, actual actors and shit there on set doing the fucking Roger Rabbit shit. I ever tell you, Go, that the Judge Doom reveal scared me as a kid?
I mean, that's a lot of people.
So, but here's the thing, right? So any time I would watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit, every time it got to that part, I would just run out of the room and then count. And then once I got to a certain number, I was like, okay, it's gone. The bad man with the dagger eyes is gone. Also, to be fair to Who Framed Roger Rabbit as well, like... the fact that the tunes stand out, it's like, okay, that makes sense. They're cartoons. Smile, smile, smile. And now you're making me actually enjoy it as a child. And I'm sad because we're going to have to go back to talking about fucking Star Wars.
Anyway, 24:35. 3, 2, 1, go.
Are we doing the whole thing?
No, it's only up to a certain point. I think it's like another. I can't think of an exact time here, but it's like at least to like 40 minutes, and then I think it goes off into another.
I was just wondering because it's like we were not that far.
Nah, I probably should have skipped ahead a little bit more originally, but
No, you picked a good point. It's fine.
My phone was about dead on the way home.
Again, it doesn't matter. This is all going on my channel.
24:37. 3, 2, 1, go.
That about the prequels is just how glossy everyone's eyes get when they're like all CGI. Like when I think of Qui-Gon, not Qui-Gon.
Taken? Liam Neeson from
Obi-Wan.
Taken?
Obi-Wan.
Liam Neeson?
Not Neil.
Oh.
No.
Ewan McGregor.
Natalie
I don't know why
Portman.
I'm
Liam Neeson
forgetting
got
Ewan
in
McGregor
trouble
'cause I
for
love him,
saying
but
the things he said.
by the end of those films,
Probably.
especially, like his eyes are so glazed over. Like when he's talking, that I remember that scene where
Okay.
he's like, they killed the younglings or the
Yeah.
Padawans, and his eyes
kind
are
of-
just
Oh,
dead.
when Taken killed everybody.
I kind of like how detached from
Well, with
reality the
Liam
Jedi get over the course.
Neeson, he wasn't acting. He was just fucking drunk. Because he's an alcoholic. And he's always drunk. I was glad they killed me before I got to the second movie. Because if I saw that black motherfucker, I would have pulled out my Angie-Chinelli. And I would have bopped him over the head.
Okay, 25.
Now, if you excuse me, I gotta go piss my pants because it's my favorite thing to do. I'm not joking. Do you know how many pictures of Liam Neeson there are with him just completely just piss-soaked pants?
I've seen them.
Make that the thumb. If you need an image for this video, just have it be that. No context up until this point. In fact, edit out this part specifically. Don't edit anything else. Just edit out the fact that we are like, yes, make the everything about this video just a picture of Liam Neeson drunkenly standing with piss-soaked pants.
Okay, 25:15. 3, 2, 1, go.
Movies, and I'm not sure if, and I feel like that kind of adds to that, even though I am basically retroactively claiming a flaw is a good point here. Like, yeah, there is a kind of clear problem where they can't see what they're looking at, but the Jedi are sort of slowly revealed over the course of the movies to be the real bad guys of the Star Wars universe, and by the end they're just these crazy
again,
people.
Sorry, pause. This is why it's taking so long to get through this. But, you know, this is me. This is how I do videos. So, they're not the bad guys. They are bad guys. but the Sith are the bad guys. I kind of hate this line of thinking, and it got kind of brought up with the fucking acolyte, and it's like, look, the Jedi being an order that gets corrupted by bureaucracy and their own internal fucking bullshit and codexes and all that crap. That's good. That's a fine basis for a fucking story. But when in it you have a universe where there's literally a dark side of the Force. Canonically, evil is a fucking thing here. So even if the Jedi are still corrupted, they're still a corrupted form of good. And that is different from them being the bad guys. The reason the Jedi are failures in the prequels, and thus the rest of the franchise, is because they were too blinded by the bureaucracy of the Old Republic to fucking fully realize the looming threat of the Sith.
Okay, 25, 35, 3, 2, 1, go.
It's kind of wonderful.
I like that point. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I do say that, versus the Yoda that Luke physically had on his back,
Played by Natalie Portman.
But you can see him even interacting with it, which is what I personally feel is when I get
This
that uncanny
lady's my
valley is when
favorite
I feel
part.
like no one can see them, they don't have weight, and
Yeah,
you're just too hyper aware of the fact that it's not there, but they're trying.
Do you notice that there's no props in the prequels, almost at all?
Yeah,
Every room they're in is basically empty.
Yeah, nobody's got any papers. Nobody's got any pens or whatever.
Which is really interesting because I think the two things to keep in mind about the Star Wars movies, I think, is that canon was a Bible term, and that George Lucas before Star Wars was an experimental filmmaker.
Yeah, THX 1138 is one of the most bizarre anti-capitalist films of the 20th century. It's
even
amazing that he would
American
make that.
Graffiti, the stuff he's doing with sound in that movie, nobody was trying. And I think the Star Wars movies, really what's happening is he's trying out this new technique, and I think it just doesn't exactly work. But I think I think you can sort of craft something kind of cool out of the experiment, but I think the whole thing was just this experiment with digital sets that he couldn't really get his head around.
Pause. And I'm sorry, I'm cutting off H Bomber guy here, but
27 minutes. Go ahead.
I actually agree with that last statement. Because if you ever see interviews with Lucas, he does, out of all of those new Hollywood directors, Lucas the most seems like he's always just been I just want to make weird movies. And the problem is, unfortunately for him, Star Wars became a fucking brand. And when something becomes a brand, people expect stuff from it, It's like if you went into McDonald's and they were hey, we're going to change all the hamburgers to turkey burgers. People would be fucking throwing up ape shit. Because it's we expect fucking hamburgers from McDonald's. What is this turkey burger fucking bullshit? And, you could argue hey, it shouldn't work that way. Probably, but that's how fucking shit works. Sorry. We live in, it's being hey, you know what'd be really cool? If we could flap our arms and fly in the air like a fucking bird. Yeah, that would be fucking cool. But unfortunately, we live in this universe where we can't fucking do that for various fucking reasons.
Okay, 27 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go.
The blocking and setup of really early serials, the Buck Rogers type stuff.
There's a lot of is it Devil Dogs from the one with the masked guy and everything. And there's a shitload of Kurosawa in them, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, there's a ton of Hidden Fortress and obvious stuff like that. But a good modern day version of those that also emulates that stuff really well is Immortals. If you've seen that,
I love Immortals.
Yeah,
I still got to see it.
It's very similar stuff. It's really, really cool.
Immortals has this look where it's completely artificial looking, but I think it sticks the landing better than Lucas did. And maybe it's because of people like Lucas going first.
Yeah, the artificiality actually adds to the sense of unrealness that the gods have. It makes them feel like, and that's the whole point. Very few films actually channel the uncanniness of their effects into becoming part of the story.
Yeah.
The prequels kind of led the way in that respect.
But you know what disappointed me about the prequels versus, Star Wars was that Star Wars was so dirty and everything was broken, and then the prequels were all so shiny and new.
My counterpoint here is that in the prequels, things get broken. Things start out sleek and shiny and slowly devolve into the sort of garbage trash we see.
I can see that metaphorically. And so, like, I'll accept it, but like, I just feel like it's still the world still existed before this story was being told.
I agree with H-Bomb here. I do think they could have done a better job.
It's things like in the era of the Republic, we have sort of an age of free enterprise and a lot of materials and people building whatever they want.
Like,
you have the sort of liberal cap.
2840, go ahead.
Like, one thing I think would have, and maybe part of this problem is like, because I don't know, it's been so long since I've watched the prequels, right? And I think the main planet we see the most is Coruscant. I might be wrong about that. And there might be like some degradation to Coruscant throughout the movies, but like, I don't remember that ever registering too well. It does register at least like with the Clone Wars cartoon, because that leads into the Battle of Coruscant. But it's like, it'd be cool if Naboo was more of a focus of these movies, right? Because like Naboo starts off like Naboo started off as like this beautiful, vibrant like planet that found like a way to have like a harmony between both nature and like an advanced civilization, right? And then that over time, because of the war going on, the corruption of the Republic, all that stuff, like it just gets like the wildlife and the plants start dying off. You see more and more factories being built for the war effort, shit like that. I think that would have hit a lot harder, right?
Right.
Like that would have been fucking cool, because it's like, oh man, I remember Naboo from The Phantom Menace. It was such a beautiful, lovely fucking planet, and now it looks like Satan's fucking asshole. Because I do agree with H-Bomber Guy. I do think that is the intended reason everything looks all shiny and stuff. But even then, I kind of disagree that it should look so shiny, right? Because this is the end point of the Galactic Republic, right? So, like, that's degraded. So I feel like there should already be a level of grime in this universe. Because we already have one institution, the Galactic Republic, degraded into the Empire. And then the Empire, like, and I know this is kind of cheating because I'm using the fucking dumb sequel trilogy for this, but it was all just a fucking plot for Palpatine to get fucking immortality. Even though he might be immortal and maybe he just wanted a pussy. I don't know. Palpatine was trans, y'all. Think about that. The good guys prevented a trans woman from transitioning in the new trilogy. And everybody clapped at it. Because, oh no, she's evil. It's like, you know what? Maybe Empress Palpatine would be less evil if she got that pussy she wanted.
I would have respected a girl boss emperor.
Yes, queen.
What if she shot the lightning out of her tits? That would have been cool.
You just made it weird.
I don't know.
I was having fun about a trans woman realizing her dream. and you had to go and sexualize it like that.
That's empowering. She's taking her femininity and using it to destroy the enemy. All right, 2840. 3, 2, 1, go.
The Naboo people build really cool, shiny spaceships, and then we see over the course of them becoming an empire, we see them change in their design style, and eventually everything just looks like it did before.
I just want to point out that the only research that me and John D'Amico really did for this was that we sat around my laptop and we Googled Naboo starfighters, and we just looked at those because those are so gorgeous.
Status is they're still great looking.
Yeah, they look incredible. I love those starfighters.
Just a hot ship.
Yeah, but going back to the ring cycle thing you mentioned, people have tried to come up with like ideal viewing orders for the Star Wars movies, and I think one of them was like 4, 5.
Hey Tony,
2, 3,
you got an opinion
6.
about Lundy over?
So you get the "I'm your father" reveal, and then you get Anakin growing up, and then you get the ending.
Thank What about you, 1? Anthony.
Exactly, 1 is taken out completely, which is just a huge shame because the ideal viewing order is 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
you watch them the way they were made.
Yeah,
because that's, if you think about it, prequels are always in a way sequels to the movies because they're reacting to everything that was in them. Like the end of 6, what we have is the Empire being defeated.
2947, go ahead.
I got a bit of a rebuttal for this entire thing we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless comments. Go on.
Thank you, baby Billy.
It's not exactly wrong. In fact, that might be the most correct thing said on this podcast.
Nah, this is the most correct thing to be. Well, except for when I called Lundy the F slur. This is the most correct.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
That's just every episode. Okay, 2947. 3, 2, 1, go.
Defeated, or at least the Emperor's killed. You have the rebellion that's been trying to restore this republic getting their way, and they're probably going to build a republic now. And the prequels of them going, okay, but what would that be like? What is this thing they're trying to restore? And we see this society that destroyed itself, that became so corrupt that it effectively created the Emperor.
Right on.
And it's almost cyclical, and it kind of basically it's kind of nihilistic. It says there's no escape. We're going to keep revisiting this empire and this republic over and over, and there's no legitimate path out of it except with if somehow things can happen differently. And the films are kind of about what goes missing.
Now, I think
that's kind of.
Do you view the prequels as one entity, or do you have a favorite of the 3? Do you rank them at all?
I love the third one.
That's kind of hard. Yeah,
I like the third one a lot too. Yeah,
it's the only one I own.
I like a lot of parts in all of them, but I kind of think Attack of the Clones is my personal favorite, just because it has so much. It was kind of a watershed moment for me going back through them and realizing, hey, hold on, this has got a lot of really cool stuff in it that I normally don't expect to see in movies anymore.
Man, it's got a lot of shit they stole from Fifth Element. It's all I remember.
Oh man, I want to talk about Fifth Element.
Well, that opening scene, right, where they're
that's a dope ass movie.
Yeah, that's like, come on, man.
Too bad it was made by a child molester.
You get a bunch of really cool moments of characterization. Like the Jedi are portrayed as just these bumbling idiots for all 3 movies, and I really don't get the people who say, "Oh, they were supposed to be good," and George Lucas somehow made 3 movies just all wrong. There's all kinds of just really great little moments in all of them where they do something just bad in a really dumb way, but my favorite 2, one is in Attack of the Clones when Obi-Wan jumps out the window to catch that droid, where he's basically he just does weird adventure stuff that whole movie for no reason, and you're clearly seeing him kind of at war with himself, where part of him is trying to be a good teacher and give cool advice, but you're also seeing this poorly trained religious zealot who just kind of wants to, hit stuff with a lightsaber.
Well, doesn't he never finish his training because Taken dies?
No,
exactly.
He gets trained by Obi-Wan.
Number one greatest line in all 6 films, only a Sith deals in absolutes. It's such a beautifully hypocritical line.
Right, yeah.
And
like the last days
He's talking, pause at 3203. He's talking about Obi-Wan, not Anakin.
No, Obi-Wan was about to graduate.
Well, yeah, that's what he was meaning.
Well, no, that's the thing. Obi-Wan was about to become a master. And Qui-Gon was going to train Anakin. but then Qui-Gon died. I'm not even a fan of this bullshit, and I know. You know what? This deserves a good old bit of this.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was invented by a writer. Not this time. It never happened. It's false. It never happened. It's a fake. It's fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened. No way. We got you. Not a chance. Not this time. It never happened. It never happened. We made this one up. It's fiction.
Right.
We made up this one. We made it up. Not this
Went
time.
back to 31:45.
Not this time. You're wrong. Not this time. It never happened.
Sorry, that one's a long one because that is every time Jonathan Frank says wrong in
That's fine.
every episode of Beyond Belief.
That show's so good. Okay.
That was a fun show. But anyways, yeah, like, hey, H-Bomb, you know what? No, that's fine, but hey, H-Bomb, you know what's worse than a plagiarist? A thief? A liar. Lies would make the baby Jesus cry. Think about that. Oh wait, you're probably a godless heathen on that fucking pedophile island you call the UK. You worship your fucking king with his fucking sausage fingers. You know he's not taking chemotherapy.
Why?
Because he doesn't believe in it. Instead, he's using tinctures and potions.
Really?
Yeah, because he believes in alchemy. So he'll probably die soon, honestly. So, yeah, he's taking herbs and potions. This is a man who ostensibly, at one point, could have been the ruler of a quarter of this fucking planet.
He's decided to Steve Jobs himself.
And he's just like, nah, like, I don't believe in chemotherapy. Alchemy, though, that's the real shit. God, could you imagine if it's just some guy like me, just dressed in like a wizard robe? Just being like, oh yeah, here, drink this. It'll kill something. You know what, I don't want to say this because, like, fuck him. Like, it'd be kind of fun if he dies soon. But I feel like it'd be easy to convince him on the chemotherapy stuff. Because that's like a potion. If you abstract it enough, you know?
You
can convince him that it's like alchemy.
What if you give him the pill but say abracadabra while you're giving it to him?
Yeah, you wave a wand over his head.
Just put in one of those humidifiers in the room, make it look like a cauldron's going in the center of it.
What do you think his finger sausages taste like?
Every other meat in the UK.
No, I'm not talking. I'm like if you just went up to him and put one of his gross giant fingers and.
I think it would taste like any other meat that you have in the UK. Fucking vile. He looks like somebody who, like, he would smell like sawdust, if that makes sense.
So I imagine he'd smell like some really weird shit, because he's a roll. So he's probably got, like, he probably just wakes up every morning and picks up a hunk of ambergris and just rubs it all over his fucking body. And he's like, oh, tip top, I'm ready for the day, I am. Cheerio.
Some fucking vile mix of peaches and baby powder.
That's probably what he just eats. It's like, yes, this will keep the innards good. Yes. Stiff upper lip. Tip top. Cheerio.
Okay, speaking of the
I think that's honestly the greatest indictment of us as a fucking species.
What, the British existing?
That the British, like, at one point controlled so much of this fucking planet.
I mean, so the Spanish and the French and the Romans.
Look, at least they had at least with the first two, they had God on their side.
Yeah, but the Spanish also, they're the ones we get that, what's that one really fucked up?
And then I guess the Romans technically had God on their side for a bit.
It's not Harbinger. What's the name of the inbred family?
Oh, the Habsburgs.
Yeah, the Habsburgs. That was Spanish, I think.
No, they were what? Bohemian? I'm trying to remember my CK2 knowledge here. I'm pretty sure the Habsburgs were a Bohemian family. There were Spanish Habsburgs, but that's because their poison genetics infected a lot of the roles.
Did you ever read the autopsy report on the one, like the ugliest one?
Oh yeah, where it's like you could just take that and like kind of scrub out a couple of things and just make that into an SCP or a creepypasta.
I think it was something like his head was full of water, like literally full of water, and his blood was jelly. They said that they cut open his scrotum and his balls look like little fucking like peas or olives.
How could you be? God, I would love to go back and just see that thing.
Just see it in action.
Yeah, just be like marvelous. I've told you about this. Like I would love to just breed the most retarded person in the world. Like that would be my Jurassic.
Heart the size of a peppercorn and did not contain a single drop of blood.
It's funny that he looks like a Mendham.
He probably ate garbage. That's why he's holding his hand in the right side of that picture.
Can you just imagine being the painter and you have to fucking paint that thing and make it look remotely human?
Or you're gonna say you have to look back over the canvas and look at it staring at
You're
it.
just like that too. Just being like it's just like it's gonna attack me. No, I can't. Like it would just snap its legs if it lunged at me, so I'm probably good.
It wouldn't attack you because it's not the noble thing to do before its evening of fucking its siblings and or
By the way,
parents.
the Habsburgs, they're one of the reasons I'm like, people back then, not a lot of them didn't take this God shit seriously, because if you did, and you had one of those, you'd be like, holy fuck, Satan obviously did something to this woman, kill her. Or a fairy stole my baby.
Okay, 31:45. 3, 2, 1, go.
And religious zealot who just kind of wants to, hit stuff with a lightsaber.
Well, doesn't he never finish his training because Taken dies?
Yeah, exactly. And in 3, you get the number one greatest line in all 6 films: "Only a Sith deals in absolutes." It's such a beautifully hypocritical line.
Right, yeah.
And
like
I
the
kind
last
of
days of
I
Rome.
half expected Anakin to respond with, "Are you sure?" But it's brilliant. And then you see the same, Obi-Wan, what is it, like 40, 30 years later, say, "Oh, Anakin was a good friend. He killed your dad. I'm a big liar. The
Right.
Republic was good." And then you realize that him saying the Republic
That was
good
the exact line from the original cut in 77,
Yeah.
and then they changed it in 97.
Yeah, they changed it to be more wordy, but that's basically the whole point. Is you get this idea that there was never this beautiful time, and I think that's kind of politically interesting.
Yeah.
Today, where we have a lot of people saying they want to, let's say, make America great again, when the reality is America's never been great per se.
Says the
It's something we
British
have
guy.
to-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, my country's
Yeah, we
terrible.
learned
Have
it
to
from
cut your
you,
mic here.
Dad.
I'm gonna have to cut your mic.
Cut his mic.
Been great having you on the show, but no, but
we have to create a good country ourselves now
Right.
are not.
Spoiler alert for
not back.
the
Things
almost
have always been bad. That's the
for
message.
the 9 years
One of
in
the
between
things I really
this.
dug,
We
which I
failed.
don't think gets enough love, is the great red
jizz?
Yeah, the jizz. Jizz don't get enough love. Please, if you're listening to this, please go on the Wikipedia and Google jizz. Trust me on this.
You came for Jar Jar, you got jizz.
That's right. But what I was going to say was...
Came for Jar Jar.
What I was going to say was I really appreciate the red herring of Darth Maul. And I don't think that gets enough credit. I think that's
really that frustrates me so much. I think all they had to do to make those good movies was just not kill Darth Maul.
But he's literally a red herring.
Pause. That's not what a fucking red heron is.
3348, go ahead.
That's not what a fucking red heron is. A red heron is a false clue. Like Darth Maul was just a character that like they did a swerve with. That's what he is. Darth Maul's a swerve. Like you thought he was going to be the main apprentice, but it's like, nah, he dies. Like a red heron would have been, oh, Darth Maul is the master, and this other guy is the apprentice. That would be a red heron. But they make it clear early on, no, Darth Maul's the apprentice. Again, not a red heron, swerve. Sorry. Continue.
Okay, 3348, 3, 2, 1, go.
Buddy, better.
I agree with
I think
that.
that the rule with film, and I don't deal in absolutes, but if I had to pick a rule, I think it was Ebert who said it. If you're gonna kill Janet Leigh, you have to have Tony Perkins in the wings. And Lucas didn't have anybody as good as Darth Maul after he killed Darth Maul. There was just nobody there. Maybe he should have killed someone else first as a red herring and then revealed him. But like basically it was backwards. They had the great, like the best graphic design since Vader in that series.
Yeah,
was
gorgeous,
that face.
gorgeous face.
Yeah.
And they threw it away.
Can you still hear me, by the way? I cut out for a second.
No,
yeah,
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
A big point I like to make with Darth Maul, because I talk about Star Wars a lot to people apparently, is that his cause is legitimate. He's not just some
What's
evil
his cause?
guy who's-
All I remember was his cool motorcycle in his face.
And his lightsaber, come on, double-sided.
His cause is elucidated by all the other characters we see throughout the movie. Like, what have we seen? We've seen a desert planet with slavery on it. We've seen these kids living in dirt. We see these trade dealers who are lying to people, saying they're the only people with the part to get by.
Friggin' Watsu, man.
There's trade disputes. There's all this garbage happening, and in the middle of this, we have the Jedi who claim to be protectors of peace and justice, who are just turning a blind eye to everything and muscling in on people, trying to get them to do what the Republic wants.
Yeah, and they like
then you
Stone
have
Cold
Darth Maul
say in
talking-
that movie, it's like not our problem, right? I mean, they leave his mom in slavery.
Yeah, Anakin says, "Did you come here to free the slaves?" And they say, "Ha ha, no."
This is
Well, don't they like pay
honestly,
to
this
get
is
the
dumb.
kid?
Sorry, 3521, what'd you say?
This is just a dumb way to look at this. It's like, oh hey, like the British Empire was fucking shit, and so was the French Empire. So hey, these Nazi guys, they were justified in attacking them because they were corrupt. It's like, just again, this goes back into like corrupted good versus evil. Like, I'm sorry that I'm taking a black and white view, and maybe I should be looking at the nuance of the film and bullshit, but sorry, that's not the universe George Lucas set up here. He set up a universe where there is a light side and a dark side, and for everything that is canon, they have not deviated from that. Yes, in the old legends, there were dark Jedis, and there was a little more nuance to the fucking Force, but guess what? We don't live in that fucking timeline anymore. We live in the timeline where Disney dumbed this fucking shit down even fucking more, and now it's like literally good versus fucking evil. Also, too, Darth Maul was literally stolen as a child from the fucking, from his home planet by the fucking Sith.
That's gotta get mentioned in a second. There's like two more big parts I want to get to here. It's just taking a second. All this. Hang on, let me try to get here. See what's any different. 3859.
And his is green because it's him trying to become this new thing.
Ah, so it's like the we have the two parties, and then when they, if somebody gets votes for like a third party, they'll like use the color yellow or something, or for a green party, they'll use the color green.
It's white hat, black hat. It's an old cowboy thing. It was really smart.
It's a new direction.
I like that.
And there's the whole thing of everyone kind of knows this, where Luke's wearing black the whole time and is kind of always on the verge of doing dark stuff to get his things to go right. And then at the end, his shirt falls open and it's white on the inside. It's like this basic color metaphor thing. Like he was good all along, he just looked bad or something. It's silly. The Sixth movie is, I think, my favorite one, but also it's the most silly in terms of its themes because it's really obvious about what it's doing. But,
Thank you. Continue.
Sorry, but the prequels make the point that really color. Everything the Jedi do in that era is them kind of forming a religion around this bizarre pseudoscience they built for themselves, like midi-chlorians to measure the Force. The whole point is they think they have the Force down to science, when the Force is supposed to be this spiritual thing that everyone has access to.
There's an actual literal way to do it.
You got to be a Jedi. You got to do all this.
Also,
stuff.
he reads it on a ladies' Gillette shaving razor.
Yeah,
that's my favorite piece of production design in that movie. The midi-chlorian sensor is a ladies' Gillette shaving razor with some shit on it.
They could have just used a Scientologist e-meter and that would have made the point even better.
Yeah.
Like, it's just perfect storytelling because you've got these people who think they have all this stuff down to a science.
No, they get wrecked because fucking Palpatine is clouding their minds.
Works. There's that great thing at the end of 3 where Padme dies, seemingly of her own free will. She sort of chooses to die. She loses the will to live. And the Force detecting robot has no idea what's happening to her. I think that's the actual Force working. It's something other than using midichlorians. It's this larger metaphorical thing.
Was that a Force detector? I just thought that was a Doctor Robot.
Well, the robot can obviously detect the Force.
That's kind of a stretch.
It thinks it can because we have machines that can in the prequels. But the point is they don't detect the actual...
I thought that was just like a blue collar, or I guess a white collar, just like a working man Doctor Robot. Like.
I really want to see that sequel.
Yeah, where's the Dr. Robot spinoff of Star Wars?
Trauma Room Dr. Robot is what I thought.
Yeah.
There's a lot of episodes of the Clone Wars series I've heard about where the robots have like free will and have lives and emotions, and then they just get murdered by the Jedi.
That's happening all over those movies.
Yeah. The movies are really careful to humanize all the villains.
How come R2 didn't get a medal?
Yeah.
How come R2 and Chewie didn't get medals?
Because the Republic was fucking racist.
That's stone cold space racism. R2 was sitting there in the back. He was the one who saved that ship when it got hit. He was beeping and booping and he fixed it.
Sacrifice himself.
And he doesn't even get to stand up on the podium like Chewie.
Yeah.
See, the good thing about Lucas, too, is that you definitely feel for R2 and C-3PO as like the first characters in those films that you actually like. They take you through it. They're
the wise fools. It's really beautifully.
They're your people, and you're actually, you're seeing it through the eyes of two slaves, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to remember that in the Republic, they have robots doing all the work for them. Those robots have free will and are basically slaves.
Yeah.
The Republic is not that great. It's a real bad place for anyone who's not a Jedi or one of the rich people.
Well, they have those restraining collars on them in the first Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember, R2 tricks him into taking the restraining bolt off, and then he runs away.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's really...
That's like the first scene in that movie, practically.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way of showing us the empires through the eyes of like the lowest rung. Those are exactly. Who are steering. Those are the people who are steering us through the entire story. Is just
and that's why, bringing it back to Jar Jar, I'm deeply dubious towards people who think that little of just some little guy trying to make his way in the universe, because those were the main characters in the prequels. They were just the people trying to make sense of it all. And at the end, C-3PO becomes like a god of the people of the
Ewoks,
of the forest moon of Endor.
That's a really, really basic pseudo-Marxist point about elevating the weakest to the position of power and creating genuine equality.
The meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, in the prequels, we have fans going, "Oh, this Jar Jar is so terrible. I need to erase him from history by editing him out of the prequels."
He was terrible, though.
Here's the thing, Jar Jar.
This is the last part I was wanting to get to.
He's just a dude. I'm with
he's
Harry.
just a guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy. The one thing I'll say is that the whole race thing that's happening in those prequel, like that's a little bit. That's like it reminded me of like Lady and the Tramp or something.
Yeah,
you know, like there's a lot of like stereotypes.
It's like, hey, I give you a good deal.
Yeah,
that's not how water
and the
sounds.
big fat guy in the diner that everybody forgets about with his sweat stains.
I kind of think that the minority characters in the prequels talk funny because that's how these aliens happen to talk, and they're nevertheless worthy of like respect and democracy.
I don't mind
and
accents, but I feel like the whole Misa Jar Jar Binks is like.
I am kind of surprised.
Well, yeah,
H. Robert Guy took this stance.
That's like fucked up. But I don't have a real problem with Jar Jar. Otherwise, I thought he had a cool race. I really liked when you got to see where he lives and you go underwater.
Boss Nass was sweet. I mean, we established that.
Yeah, so like
that should have been about Boss Nass.
Like he was interesting. He just was sort of like
Yeah, I already
stuck
played
with
this one,
guy,
but
it was like, all right, fine.
Oh my
like I don't think I
God,
cared
who
or
the
noticed
hell
until everyone starts talking about how much they hate Jar Jar later, and I was like, I guess he was dumb.
Well, he became like symptomatic for something that really it wasn't just him, and he wasn't probably even the worst example of it, which is that the characters in those three movies just have no charisma. Any of them.
I think that the treatment of the characters like Jar Jar and like young Anakin by the characters and the fans in the prequels is sort of symptomatic of, I guess, the problem with how people watch those movies and how people think about the world.
pause real quickly.
4516, go ahead.
H. Robert Guy, well, her motherfucker and fucking Star Wars sound like this. No. That's just how his species sounds. They're slow pits.
You think he can't vote?
He deserves respect.
Let's play this at last minute out and then
Slant Eyes Rising Sun was one of the greatest representatives in the Old Republic. You throw some respect on them.
we'll get to 46 minutes and then that's probably far enough. 45, 16, 3, 2, 1, go.
A certain way in order to be worthy of respect. Because, in the prequels you see all these, lesser races that have no say in their society. And the Jedi really don't give a shit about them. Like, they only talk to the Naboo people because they have something they want so they can help the humans. They even give them this, pseudo-Zen bullshit. They say, hey, look, you form a symbiont circle and all this. And what they're really saying is, help us or karma might get you, I don't know. In order to, con a ship out of him. And there's something kind of dark about that. And I feel like having the aliens talk in a funny way, so the Jedi feel semi-justified in viewing them as a lesser race is kind of a satirical point. This is a kind of weird thing to say, but imagine if people of other races really did talk like the stereotypes. That wouldn't make them any less worthy of being a part of society.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But
now you're doing what the fans do, though, which is that now you're not looking at it as a movie, you're looking at it as an alternate universe.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point, actually. Yeah, I normally don't go to that level with it.
I would have rather the movies had stated that, though. For me to buy that completely, I would want to see some really obvious shows of like racism, and then shows of like, it's all sort of there, but it's never like pointed out enough to make me sort of.
It's never tied together.
It's like the
subtext lady's my favorite part.
Yeah, because that's what makes me feel like it's like not really a subtext. There's more of a sort of a mistake of like, we'll make them fun, like.
I kind of like movies that don't tell you how to look at them, where you kind of have to find a reading that you like. You kind of have to bring yourself to it. If you're told what to think by something,
that's totally fine. I'm okay with that. But I think when it comes down to something like this, this sort of.
This is what's like really ruined Western civilization.
You got to like 47 minutes in there. I think that's
just
enough for that.
People fucking like. Why do we have to give a shit about these dumb fucking movies made for dumb fucking babies?
Because they have deeper context, Matt, and because it's actually good.
God, you know what? I know I said I have a hard time choosing between the Star Wars fans and the Harry Potter fans. The Thanos snap. This is heavily leaned in towards the Star Wars fans.
So between this and killing James Somerton, which was a bigger offense, Matt?
This. What a. Why do we like him again?